So let's jump right into it. This is the legend of the 4-hour tape. You know that meme about how presidents and governors, after getting elected, look super shell-shocked and stressed the next time they make a public appearance just a week later? Like the first time that happens after you come into power is that you're pulled into a room and told all the secrets of the world? Well, it turns out it's true. As a matter of fact, it's a VHS tape. The 4-hour tape. The 4-hour tape was always a bit of an urban legend around the office. The details of Ben's role in the government are very, very vague. But to be absolutely clear, he is considered very low level. His role is caked between layers of bureaucracy, and in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty insignificant role. If you're working at his level, you're generally not privy to any of the high-level secrets. Yes, top secret meetings did occasionally take place in his building, but his focus was pretty limited to and heavily administrative. So in this case, you do what any department does when you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You discuss rumors, rumblings, crazy conspiracy theories, and everything in between. It's water cooler conversation for them. I wonder what the folks at the top are doing right now type stuff. But out of all the rumors at the office, the 4-hour tape was always the one Ben found to be the most fascinating. The crew of it? Once you reach the highest security level clearance, you are sat down and shown this particular tape. Neither he nor his colleagues knew what types of contents were on the tape or if the tape even actually existed, but they found joy in the speculation that it existed every now and again. Most of the time, they found with their little rumors or conspiracy theorists that the most mundane, boring answer was actually the correct one. Life in general finds a way to surprise you with how monotonous everything can really be. Now, there's something you should know before continuing this story. Ben is a wimp. He's meek, anxious, and generally pretty restless. A chronic rule follower, there is no part of him that wants to dig up secret documents and uncover the truth about what happens at the highest levels of government in our country. So, when covering his accidental discovery 4 nights ago, keep in mind, he didn't want this. He didn't ask for it, and the only reason he shared this is because he really didn't know at the time how much time he had left anyway, and he couldn't live with this stuck in his conscience alone. It was nighttime at the office. Ben, who was known to be a bit of a workaholic, was really wanting to get something done before the week was over, so he was working later than usual. As he was wrapping up, he went to print a document on what he thought was his usual printer, the printer in his immediate vicinity. The notification on his computer showed that his document was being printed, but he didn't hear any noise coming out from the local printer. He proceeded to check the device he selected, and it looked like he accidentally closed on a printer that was being used on an entirely different floor. He let out a disappointing sigh. In any normal circumstances, he probably would have just forgotten about the mistake and reprinted the documents on his local computer again, but general management there was quite strict on team members making sure that all confidential documents were accounted for. They were not allowed to share department-specific documentation to other departments. Screw it, he thought. He looked up a map in his inbox showing the locations of all of the company printers. Turns out he'd accidentally clicked the wrong printer name, Prince Charming, on the 7th floor. Haha, funny name, he laughed to himself. Then off he went. He really should have just let it be. He got to the elevator, rode it up to the 7th floor. He emerged in mostly an empty office area. In case you're wondering, the building is huge where he worked, but he'd worked there long enough to know his way around, so he knew the area pretty well. He made his way through the hallways and eventually spotted the printer. Yes, with his freshly printed papers minting it. He gave himself a mental pat on the back for continuing his lifelong streak of following the rules. But as he went to grab the papers, he noticed some light chatter from a meeting room nearby him. He looked through the window to see roughly 10 people hanging around a snack table. In the room was a large, old-looking TV on a cart and rows of some of the fanciest folding chairs he'd ever seen, organized in a very neat fashion. He didn't think much of it and started to walk back towards the elevator until he heard the door fly open. "Hey, Mr. Boskowitz, right? Jesus, man, we were supposed to start 15 minutes ago. Get your ass in here." What? No, sorry, I think you have the wrong. I don't care why you're late. Just get in here, grab a plate of snacks, and sit down. We are starting ASAP. Put your phone in the bag, electronic watch in the bag, and everything else on your person that can be used to record audio or video, he responded hastily. Something about his sternness and tone short-circuited Ben's brain. For guys like him, there is a third option beyond fight or flight. It's called just go with it till it's over, also known as the captured rabbit strategy. He put his phone and watch in the bag, then meekly tried to butt in with another, "Sir, I'm not Mr. Boskowitz," but he had already pulled him into the room at this point. He closed the door, walked to the front, near the TV. He contemplated making a break for it, but he decided to just see through it, hoping deep down that whatever was happening was as inconsequential as his job was. Everyone had their snack plates and were heading to their seats. Ben awkwardly grabbed a muffin from the snack table, put it on a napkin, and took a seat in the very back row. Everyone was spaced out evenly from each other. It didn't seem like anybody knew one another. He quietly sighed at the thought of having to sit through some sort of boring informational seminar or irrelevant training session. After a few minutes of everyone settling in, the man who originally drug him into the room started talking. There was an equally serious guy standing next to him and a Secret Service looking fella standing in the corner. Huh? Ben started to wonder to himself why they were about to watch a video from a very old school looking TV. Felt like he was back in elementary school or something. All right, I just need to do a final run through before we get started, said the man at the front. I know you all read through the emails and signed your releases. I just wanted to recap some of the ground rules. You're allowed to get up and grab another snack, but beyond that, we want you to pay full attention to the tape once it starts playing. If anyone needs to go to the bathroom, we strongly urge you to wait until the presentation is over. If you absolutely can't hold it, we will pause the tape and one of us will escort you. There is water in the corner by the snacks. Cups are right there as well. And goes without saying, but any discussion of this presentation to folks who do not have top compartmented clearance is a breach of your terms of employment, a breach of your non-disclosure agreement, a breach of your multiple signed releases, a breach of the U.S. Criminal Code in the state of Washington, and a breach of the conditions laid out by, and the committee name he highlighted sounded way above my clearance level. One of the men at the front of the room pulled a VHS tape from a bag and very slowly and securely put it into the VCR. Then press play. Ben took a deep breath. Those water cooler conversations he'd had with his coworkers were starting to float to the top of his mind, but he quelled them. There was probably no need for panic, he thought to himself. It was just a stupid government meeting, right? The tape started. The beginning was familiar enough. Various disclaimers about being incredibly confidential material, yada, yada, yada. Insignias of relevant organizations, presidential libraries, etc. Had seen lots of videos like this already, he thought. But wait, the insignia looked strange. Like something was off. He scanned it over again. Presidential libraries, that same eagle, those same stars. Weird. This time there was a navy blue hand on the left shoulder of the eagle. Had they updated the logo? How come he hadn't been informed of this? Before he had time to ponder on it too much, the tape cut to a logo he actually hadn't seen up to this point. Committee for the Protection and Preservation of Human Consciousness. The logo was just an image of planet Earth. Okay, fair enough, he thought. The video cut to a room that looked similar to the Congress floor, but with some strange differences. Seats were much more spaced out. The podium looked like it had seen its better days, and the whole room looked to be on a pretty steep incline. Everything was black and white. It looked like there was probably 50 or so people in attendance. He couldn't make out any of the faces. Everything looked very dated, like the video had been from the 50s or 60s. The tape lingered on this one shot for quite a while. Minutes passed. Ben noticed what looked like a choir, all in outfit and perfectly huddled next to each other, standing in one of the corners of the very large room. It was really starting to feel like he shouldn't have been seeing this. None of this was meant for his eyes, he told himself. After a few more minutes, the tape abruptly cut to an awkward angle of a man speaking at the podium in front of the room. It was way too zoomed in, enough that you couldn't see his eyes or his hair. It didn't look all that professional. You couldn't even tell who he was. He spoke. Members of the Committee for the Protection and Preservation of Human Consciousness, I thank you all for coming tonight. We are lucky to be in the good graces of our visitors today without rehashing our painful history. The tape cut to a camera slowly panning over all of the faces of the people seated in the room. The attendees looked pained, somber. The man continued his speech as the camera continued panning over the committee. We acknowledge that the journey to this moment has been an arduous one. I am pleased to say that humanity, faced with a dire ultimatum, has come to a majority decision. To our esteemed guests from across the solar system, we are thankful for the opportunity you have given us to negotiate with you. Adrenaline shot through Ben's entire being. Oh shit. We made contact with extraterrestrial life? This was the truth. Maybe like the saying, the truth would set him free. Before I outline the decision taken by humanity, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank the brilliant representatives from all of the nations across the world who came together to ensure that this decision was taken with the utmost responsibility, care, and appreciation for our human species. I am aware that this was not a unanimous decision. Shit, what did that mean? Sweat formed on Ben's brow. He suddenly felt nauseous. He awkwardly and slowly took a bite from his muffin. The tape returned to a now corrected angle of the speaker at the podium. His eyes were visible. They looked strained, like they'd seen multiple versions of hell. The nations who still disagree, he continued, I thank you nonetheless for accepting this majority decision. May this moment, which will be held in the secrecy throughout the rest of time, be appreciated as a critical milestone for human civilization. Tonight is not a victory, it is a somber moment. However, we were faced with only two options: extinction or accepting the terms of the treaty put forth by our visitors. We made our choice and believe time will show that it was the right decision. Well, what choice, Ben thought. I hereby announce that we accept the agreement put forth by our special guests who have chosen to go by the name Custodians, will allow humanity on the planet Earth to continue to populate, grow, and innovate. In return, all governments of the world will honor the promise. Ben was growing impatient as the gentleman continued. Spit it out, he thought. What was the damn agreement, he thought to himself. We will not be covering every element of this agreement in this session. I will, however, highlight the main points. At this point, the video showed the man at the podium looking down. He was reading something. For the first time, he looked nervous, scared even. His human nature shone right through. We honor the agreement that the Custodians hold the right to visit planet Earth on a recurring basis. They will be allowed to consume, for the basis of nourishment, a majority of our population on our planet after every visit. Remaining humans on Earth will be expected to breed and grow to capacity in time for the next visit. We acknowledge that we will maintain a parallel history which will be shared with our world's population to ensure that humanity stays motivated to continue existing as a species. This parallel history will suggest that mass extinction events are the result of man-made folly as opposed to the work of external forces. For the first time, Ben's flight or fight response was actually flight. He wanted to escape, but he didn't know what he'd even be running from. The last visit by the Custodians was approximately in the year 1346, and it lasted 7 years. We will continue to honor our parallel history around this event. He just wanted it to end. The next visit, which will not be met with resistance, will be in the year 2028 and will run for one full calendar year on Earth, marking a 675-year gap between the last significant visit by the species known as the Custodians. This visiting cadence is expected to speed up over time as the remaining humans continue to sharpen their focus on building technology, allowing humanity to reproduce in a speedy and productive manner. Jesus Christ, it finally hit Ben like a high-speed train. Our planet is a goddamn farm. He wanted to look away, but he couldn't. The tape cut away to a larger view of the Congress-like room, the somber committee members in attendance, and the members of the choir in the corner, who one could only imagine looked horrified. Where were the visitors? Why can't I see them? Thought Ben. The camera panned to a number of larger, empty seats, the same slow style of video panning as the one that happened earlier with the committee members. No visible entities in the seats, but the seats themselves looked very blurry. The man at the podium carried on with his speech as the camera panning to the blurry seats continued. We acknowledge the privilege of knowing that there is indeed life in the cosmos, that extraterrestrial life has chosen to visit our planet, and that the cycle and balance provided by nature extends beyond the confines of this planet Earth. Much like humanity has found its place on Earth in the food chain, we acknowledge our place in the divine order of things when encountered with beings of greater power, understanding, cognitive function, and evolutionary progression. Oh hell, why did I stay late? Ben scolded himself. I should have made my identity clear from the beginning. I knew I wasn't supposed to see this. While the process of consumption is a painful and lengthy one, we respect the trade-off that comes with the preservation of our species. We also acknowledge, as part of the promise, that substitutes for human life in the form of clones, should we discover that technology in the future or other living species, will never function as a viable alternative for the nourishment, the speaker continued. Ben didn't need to know this. This was all way too specific for him. Our final major acknowledgement as part of this agreement is that we accept the Custodians as the Great Almighty, as the entities we will now refer to as God. God, as an interstellar species, has revealed itself to us, and thus, the continued existence for the Custodians is now the true priority of the people of our planet. We are blessed to play a part in the continuation of God. In God we trust. Amen. The tape then cut to footage of the choir as the speaker continued. We bless our visitors with this gift, a performance of the national anthems of all major nations of the world, and it will now commence. Audio of a very loud track of the Star-Spangled Banner started playing from the video. Ben's stomach sank. Audio of a very loud backing track of the Star-Spangled Banner started playing from the video. Ben's stomach sank. The tape showed footage of the choir singing on top of the track. Not sure if it was because they were scared for their lives, but you could really tell they were singing their hearts out. As they sang, the camera continued to pan over the blurry seats. They finished singing the anthem and then suddenly, fast forwarding. Hell, he had forgotten he was sitting in a room. He had disengaged from the video for a brief moment. He mentally returned to the present day. This was our world? This was our meaningless lives? The men at the front continued to fast forward through the tape. It looked like they were skipping through performances of the other national anthems. The fast forwarding went on for a while. Every small while, it looked like a new choir group was entering the room to sing a different national anthem. On and on the tape went. Ben had to fight the urge to pass out. One of the men at the front of the room, standing next to the TV, started speaking up. We are legally obligated to get to the end of this tape, but you don't need to look at the rest of it. Please feel free to look down or close your eyes, grab a snack, he said. Ben noticed others seated in the room taking that advice. Most of them decided to look straight down, but for some weird reason, Ben couldn't look away. The fast-forwarding progressed. On the tape, it was yet another choir group joining to perform an anthem. Then another, then another. They were nearing the end. The fast-forwarding now showed a conversation between the man at the podium and another man who was whispering in his ear. The man at the podium was vehemently shaking his head. The other man continued whispering. This continued on for a brief moment. Eventually, there was a quick moment of the man at the podium begrudgingly nodding. The last few fast-forward moments of the tape remained burned into Ben's memory this very moment. They were absolute chaos. The attendees were sitting in their chairs frozen, shivering, crying. The people in the various choirs were running around the rooms in fast motion. As the blurry spots started covering them and ungodly things started happening to them. Why didn't I look away? Thought Ben. If ever there was a time to follow orders, it felt like this thing went on for way longer than it should have. Finally, the men at the front of the room stopped the fast forwarding. They pressed play on the tape to cover the very final moment. In the tape, the man at the podium, clearly emotional, spoke his final line. The agreement has been ratified by the custodians. Thank you all for attending. The final shot of the video is the full room. The committee members in their seats shivering and crying. The dismantled bloody choir members strewn about the room. The blurry seats with dark liquid smeared on them. Then the video cut away. Back to the same insignia on the black backdrop. The presidential libraries, that eagle, those stars. The navy blue hand on the wing of the eagle. The lights in the conference room turned on. The rest of the night was a blur. The men at the front of the room told us it would be best for us to sit for an hour to digest the information. No discussion about the video was allowed to take place. When we were ready to stand, we were allowed to leave and go home. They gave us some pointers on how to accept the information over the coming weeks. Things like taking long walks, exercising, watching a sitcom, etc. Ben wasn't even worried about them realizing he wasn't supposed to be there. If anything, he felt a strange camaraderie with everyone in the room. They were all truly in the same boat. As soon as he left the building, he got in his car and just drove for as long as he could. He'd stop for gas, then just keep driving, stop again, then keep driving again and again. He's hauled up in a hotel right now. He's just glad he could get this off his chest. Funny thing is, all he can think about is the length of that stupid tape. While I can't confirm, I feel like if it were played straight through without fast forwarding, it would have been only 3 hours. I wonder if the 4-hour tape rumor came from the fact that we all needed that extra hour to digest the information. Well, as the self-appointed leader of the committee for the acknowledgement, we should have just chose extinction. I don't feel the need to honor our captors by calling them by their name. If I don't see you again, Reddit, I appreciate the water cooler conversation. So I hope y'all enjoyed that crazy ass story. It was a mind boggler for me. Could you imagine that we're actually a farm? Mind-blowing revelation. Could it be true? Lord knows. All of my stuff is for entertainment purposes only. May or may not be true. I just provide the information, let you decide. Let me know in the comments what you think. I will be posting more. I'm back. I'm going to be posting more frequently. Let me know if you like my new format in the comments as well. And I'll be around, guys. Stay tuned. Stay in the love, stay in the light, be kind to others. I am out.